Hey. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. We knew this from the City Golf, no? Here we are with the 2018 Volkswagen Polo Vivo, VW's entry-level car, or as South Africans commonly know it as the starter pack. Based on the Mark V version of the titular Polo line, the new Polo Vivo is a bit of a diluted down version to lower the cost of the vehicle line. So you get the Trend line, a budget economy version, Comfort line, as the name states, a little more luxurious, the High line, the one that gives you too much pride, and the almighty GT, which unfortunately was not available on test drive on launch day. Boo-hoo for me. So I'll be talking about the Polo Vivos I actually drove in this particular video. If I'm lucky, then the GT will come at a later date. Let's hold thumbs for that. Cut and paste the previous Polo Vivos engines with some minor adjustments and software brah! To get a little more grunt out of the engines, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and boom, you have birthed a new Polo Vivo to be exact. Ready for Campfest and German versus Japan with some replica wheels stanced in the mix. And yeah, that's gonna happen quite a bit. Alright, now get this. I drove the first Polo Vivo, even passed my license in one. And honestly, I thought for a while it was a good value for money vehicle in its segment. And right off the bat, the new Polo Vivo proves that statement. I was pretty impressed with what was on offer. The interior is one of the best entry-level cabins that I've been in for a while for the most part. And while a lot of Japanese competition is quite action figure hard plastic clad, the Vivo is of a softer touch kind. Although the Renault Sandero was one of the better entrants interior wise, the Polo Vivo, at least for me, still takes it. Examples of such: very nice steering wheel with pan and tilt and optional leather wrapping, height adjustable driver's seat, and nice creature comforts as well, like your aircon in the latter. The interior is soft touch like I just mentioned, which I do like, and it maintains a sleek look of the Polo the Vivo borrowed its parts from. And oh man, the media systems in all the cars, lovely stuff, hands down. The speakers were okay for the most part. I mean, you get 4 to 6 speakers depending on the trim levels, and these were good systems. They were easy to navigate and nicely spaced out. There's aux, USB, and Bluetooth throughout the range, even with some trim levels maintaining steering wheel controls, and that's for the High line and the Comfort line. And of course, depending on the trim models, some models even come with a massive double din big screen radio with app support even, depending on the phone that you have. I think it can handle Apple and Android, but hey, I didn't really test that out, but that's just what I saw, and that's what the pamphlet that I had also said. So how does it drive, you ask? Well, actually, the new software brah! has given the Vivo a much needed fizz to its sprite, and it's as linear as a Polo comes, but at no point did it actually feel sluggish. It wasn't fast though, but for daily driving it was decent usable power. The gear change is much improved compared to the previous Vivo. To visualize it, imagine the previous Vivo is like moving a wooden spoon in a pot half filled with water. It felt like there was something, but a little bit empty at the same time. The new Vivo, on the other hand, feels like you're stirring a pot of condensed milk. It's smooth, slick, and you feel sweet moving it. And hey, did I actually mention, this car is actually very easy to rev match too.
Okay.
Of course, the Vivo still sounds like it's a constipated walrus on the can, but it does sound, at least in the cabin, a little bit better compared to the previous Vivo. Despite less sound deadening, the cabin is relatively quiet. The suspension department didn't take budget cuts because the Vivo feels solid on the road even with some bumpy stuff involved. Rattles in the interior? Nope, it's well put together. It has that German tank feel, but it doesn't feel heavy as it looks, and even as the door slam suggests. The aircon is cool and doesn't sap too much power from your drive. The boot is massive and can fit a big human such as myself in good comfort. Human package test, check my Suzuki Swift video. Ooh, shameless plug. Safety is round about the same. This is just assumptions though, as the Polo this Vivo borrows parts from suggests. 2 airbags, ABS, ISOFIX mounting point for baby seats, optional electronic stability control, and an optional tire pressure monitor. It's nice kit considering the range that the car is in. And speaking of ranges, the pricing for this car ranges around the 180,000 Rand mark for the Trend line to the High line at about 215k. The GT is 245k, but because I didn't drive it, I will not talk about it. The new Vivo at this point seems like a no-brainer choice as a starter pack to even something a starting professional could own. However, let's just be a little bit honest for a second. This shape of Polo looks pretty nice, however I feel VW SA was a tad lazy in the looks department for the new Vivo. I mean, you could have made it look a little different compared to the outgoing Polo to at least differentiate it like they did with the older Vivo to an extent, like what they did with the front fascia of the car, so you know it's a Polo Vivo. Not only that, the rear hatch badges were chrome plastic before, but they're now stickers. How bad were the budget cuts for the looks, I wonder? Hey, only VW SA can tell us that. Look, you wouldn't be wrong if you mistaken this car for an outgoing TSI. Some more effort could have been put here, but hey, looks only tell part of a story. I know where VW put the money for this. I feel that VW put a lot of focus in the front of the cabin rather than the rear end, just because it felt like a really cheap economy flight. I mean, no lunch was even included on that flight. I did not find the rear seats comfortable. It felt like sitting in a Quantum, fearing that I'd drop my £2 of taxi fare on the way home. The rear seats in the previous Vivo felt way better, but these ones, nah man, I just was not feeling it, man. It's like VW SA focused all of the budget on the front end of the cabin and then the rear was just left for dead. It almost reminds me of that nostalgic feeling where you hated sitting in the rear in the car as a kid and you really wanted to sit in front. I don't know why VW would want to bring back such. I mean, I like luxury in the rear too. On top of that, considering the type of car in its class, and mind you, this is across the range, there's windy windows in the rear. Why? What is this, 2001? Many of the other cars in this price range offer electric windows all around, but this, no. I mean, considering the amount that you're paying for the Vivo, come on, you could have done better than this, VW. Another thing I feel is that the Vivo lacks character. It drives well, yes, but nothing really stuck with me afterwards. You know, like when you're at a braai and then suddenly the topic of cars comes up and you want to tell your mates something about a car you drove? With the Vivo, you just use umbrella terms of praise, but nothing really stands out that you would immediately spout out. I mean, for example, with the Suzuki Ignis, I can say it's damn light and the clutch is like a cloud. The Etios has a peppy engine along with a chassis of potential, and the Sandero, well, it's quite French. But the Vivo, I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. I mean, you'll say it's good, but that's where the buck stops pretty much. Mind you, I say this without driving the GT yet, which is apparently a barrel of monkeys. And now onto a new segment, one which I'd like to call... Okay, because of the large rapport VW has in South Africa, it's no doubt that people will flock to this car as a budget option to have that oh so desirable 2-letter badge. Not that it's a bad thing in any sense of the word. It's a car that many of the cool peeps will buy, stand out, and just make it visually appealing amongst their peers, you know, try and show that individuality in a sense. But the thing is, it's just a whole bunch of cars and no one really tries to be really different with the Polo, so to speak. I mean, it's usually just do visual stuff, sound, and that's about it. And I fear that still, many people will be locked into that VW mindset and will still be unwilling to try other vehicles other than the Vivo in its class. But yeah, it's hard to beat what the new Polo Vivo is offering, so more power to the people essentially. Anywho, let's wrap this up. Right, I think VW has done well with the new Polo Vivo despite the caveats I previously mentioned. You can tell budget cuts hit this car in a few areas, but you can see VW put the money where it mattered. It's a pleasant drive and I'm sure many VW aficionados will like this car. Like I said before, it's one of those no-brainer starter cars you should consider now when looking for some wheels. Now comes the big question, how will you differentiate this Vivo versus the outgoing Polo? I mean, don't debadge your cars, peeps. I see many Facebook comment wars coming and a lot of touched hearts at meets coming up. Right, should you give this car a whack? Yeah, sure, put it on your list and try it out. It gets a good sign off from me. Thumbs up from me, yeah. Anyways, it's Tayeedz SA here, and I guess I'll be seeing you guys around, and that's all she wrote.